And it gives me huge pleasure to welcome to our virtual stage Carlos Silva Landeros, who is from the Mining Ministry of Chile. And Carlos, if you've got your slides, if you want to see if you can share them your end, because if not, we've got the backup this end. So Carlos and I, we met one another a couple of months ago at a conference here in the UK, talking about material value chains, how to measure them, and also as well what data was available, what data wasn't available. And it was really interesting because, of course, there's been a lot of change in Chile at the moment, and we had fantastic discussions talking about different relations between different countries, different parts of the world. And Carlos, just in terms of your slides, if you want to hit swap again, because we were seeing the right screen before. And then we'll get back to the right one. If you hit switch, so we're seeing your note slides at the moment rather than the other one.
I'll change it. Okay, I'll
Perfect.
try.
That's fantastic. It switched on you. So Carlos and I, we met at this conference and we had fantastic discussions. And I was going to say it took a lot of arm twisting to get you to speak today, but it didn't, which was beautiful. So everybody, I'd like to welcome to the stage formally the fantastic Carlos. Carlos, over to yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Nice to meet you, Sarah, Rose. Nice to meet you, everybody. So you can see the slide right now? It's okay?
Yep. It's perfect.
Okay. First of all, a disclaimer. This is the first time I speak in English in a conference like this. My native language is Spanish, so probably I will have a lot of problems with the PPT or when I speak. I may have some trouble with my English, so sorry if you don't understand a thing. Please just stop me, or you can ask me after I finish my presentation. Okay.
Gracias.
Okay, I'll go. Okay. When you told me to talk about the trust, I thought about to show you some examples on some facts in how I think trust works in the mining industry in Chile, and I kind of make some groups of relations between stakeholders through the value chain. And can you see it? It's okay? Okay. So I make these 5 groups from the institutionality, where I believe the country is very related with the company that comes to our country, in this case, Chile, to work, and how the legal certainty and institutionality is very important in terms of the trust between these two actors. Also, the company have to have this so-called social license to work in the territories, and the society need that to have this trust. Also, in terms of the international business license, you have, I believe, the company and the country host of the mining activity to show probably a foreign buyer of these minerals that the extractive activity is performed with respect with human rights and other standards. Also, in the commercialization aspect, you have, again, the company that need to show to the host country that the minerals that are being exported are in terms of they pay the taxes and other stuff. And finally, I believe there's some relationship between the countries involved in the value chains in terms of the value they gain through this activity, this industrial activity. So I am going to show you some examples in these 5 fields that I call. So what's happening in Chile regarding the trust, or the building of trust, okay? So first of all, institutionality. Well, in Chile, we have an institutional framework built by 3 elements. The first one is the Ministry of Mining that oversees, of course, the public policies. And then we have 2 important elements. One is the National Service of Geology and Mining, called CERNA-GEOMIN, that oversees technical overview of geology, mining, and volcanic hazards. This is a service that provides the sectorial or mining permits for the projects to operate. And then we have the Chilean Copper Corporation, called COCHILCO, which also is very important. It's developed several studies and statistics of copper and other metals, and also controls the commercialization of the copper in this case. In terms of regulation, we have this Chilean Mining Code, which is the main law in terms of mining that regulates exploration, and other stuff. And as a government, we currently have a modification. We submitted a law project that aims to boost the movement of the ownership of mining property in order to promote the exploration. So this mining code that comes from the 80s needed to be reformed. So that's why we're doing right now. And it's based on the increasing in a progressive way the patents, the payments that the people do for the mining property in order to set free some properties that has been monopolized. And also we have, this is very important, we have our first national mining policy, 2050, that give us 78 goals in terms of the economic, social, environmental, and institutional matters. And this, I believe, is very important since give to all the mining ecosystem some certainty about where we have to go ahead in terms of our public policies or our mining projects, and make us to be very coordinated in terms of how the mining industry must be developed. Well, in terms of environmental and mining permits, we have our environmental law from 1990, and then we have our update in 2010 that developed the environmental institutionality. And the permitting system is regulated by the Environmental Assessment Service and also some mining safety regulation by the SERNAGEMI. And this includes a lot of permits, but the main are the environmental impact assessment process, community consultation, and the compliance of safety environmental standards. And finally, in terms of the certainty, we have the taxation, which is very important. We have this taxation system for the mining company composed by the corporate income tax, mining royalty, and additional tax for withdrawal and dividends and remittance abroad. And in the past, Chile offered, especially to foreign mining companies, option to sign contracts to provide tax invariability for some years. And I think this was very important. That gives a space for these big mining companies that are right now in Chile to have this stable and predictable fiscal environment. And I think this is a very good option at that time. Right now, we are changing a bit that since these companies are very established and we need a new contract with them in terms of taxation. Regarding social license, the credibility of the contribution is very important, I think. And for that, actually, the mining royalty is very important. Well, we have a so-called mining royalty right now, which is a specific task, but is charged the operational revenue of the companies. But right now, we have a law being discussed, and we expect to be approved in the subsequent weeks. That is a real mining royalty that we call, since it includes an ad valorem component that charge the sales more than the operational revenue. And that helped us to make this taxation at the same rate as international levels. And also will help us to direct these funds to the regions and the communes or the territories where the mining is developed. In terms of productive linkages, mining in Chile represents 10% around about Chilean GDP. And for every direct job in mining, it's created 1.9 indirect jobs in another industry. So it's very important, mining in Chile. And even though contribute with 2.5% of the total employment in the country, this is the industry where you have the highest salaries. So everybody that works in mining, have we say a good level of life, and also the territories or the towns where the mining is developed, you have this kind of generation of value through these salaries that the mining pays. And respect for the environment also is very important for the social license. And Chile has a long history of mining, probably a very bad mining in the past. So this, as I put there, this image remains in the society collective memory. So it's very hard for us to change that. And also several mining projects have been sued or taken to court because fair reasons, mainly because environmental concern and indigenous community rights. But I could say that the modern Chilean mining industry has widely embraced these ESG standards for several years, and in a way to improve the sustainability and build this trust with stakeholders. And another element that has been very helpful is the early community engagement processes that is oversees or regulated by the Environmental Assessment Service, as well the submission and evaluation of environmental impact studies. In terms of the international business license, here I think that the public information disclosure and commitments are very important. In Chile, we have the National Environmental Inspection Information System called SNIFA. You can Google it. And it's a very good website where you can find all the information of the inspection made by this Superintendency of Environment to all mining projects. And you can see all the details of the projects and their performance in terms of environmental management. It's a very good way to show the information or have transparency of information. And also, of course, the Environmental Impact Assessment System. Again, it's public access and participation. We all can participate in the assessment of all these mining projects. And I think it's a very good tool to build this trust between the society and the companies. And of course, there's a lot of sustainability reports that the company generates. And Cotilco, again, this copper Chilean corporation generates several studies and statistics about copper metals that, again, is a way to build transparency of data internally and abroad. In terms of the commitments, I will highlight the Escazú Agreement. Last year, we signed this. This is the regional agreement on access to information, public participation, and justice in environmental matters in Latin America and the Caribbean. And this has kind of how make it to level or to hide the level of transparency and participation. Actually, all the works that we do right now in public policies, at least in this ministry, is focusing on public participation, on the transparency of the data through the website. And so I think this agreement has been very good for generation these commitments of transparency and trust from the government to the public. Of course, we are part of or agree with the ILO Convention number 169 of Indigenous and Tribal People Conventions. And we have our Human Rights National Institute that oversees and promotes the protection of human rights of the people living in Chile. And this is new, and also wanted to highlight it here. We are currently pursuing to adhere to the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, the EITI standard. This is a global standard to promote the open and accountable management of oil, gas, and mineral resources and revenues. And again, I think this is going to change the way we manage data, we show the data and to share it. And I think it's going to be a very good tool to build more trust between stakeholders. In terms of commercialization, the export control is vital. And here we have our national customs that perform inspections and verify the quality and quantity of the copper exported. And of course, we have again Cotilco, and he has a role of monitoring and controlling the commercialization values of the copper export to certificate that these correspond with market values and there's no distortion for tax calculation. And I'm going to repeat again how important is the royalty here. I already mentioned that right now we have a specific mining task that is called mining royalty, but it's not very written there, but only tax the operational revenue of the company. But right now we are having this project, this law that they're going to add this ad valorem component to charge the sales of minerals, since the spirit of this project is to recognize the non-renewable aspect of the extraction of minerals. So we believe that, again, is going to help for the society to understand that the mineral or the mining industry is taking account this is in a transparent way, and that generate the value that the people of this country demands or need. And finally, also, this is important to you. We have copper concentrate that are being exported, and right now the minerals within the concentrate that are being tracked or charged by taxes are just copper, gold, and silver. And there is a debate related about what happens with the other metals containing this copper concentrate, like platinum, palladium, and others, and how important for Chile is to strengthen the capacity of smelters and refineries to really to get the value of all the minerals that have been extracted and exported abroad. And finally, this a field of win-win businesses between countries. How important is responsible exploitation by foreign companies. We have a lot of them here in Chile. And I believe that, of course, what happened in Chile, I'm not sure about the other countries, but especially in Latin America, the major companies are mostly foreign big companies. So I believe that the country should be related in how these companies perform in other countries. Most of the companies here in Chile are members of the National Mining Association called Tsunami and the Mining Council, Consejo Minero. And all of them have published at least one sustainability report. As I mentioned before, this is a kind of a standard that is very common for the mining companies to develop these sustainability reports. And also we have signed several MOUs with different countries related with promotion of sustainable mining. And also the research and development and innovation is very important in terms of the cooperation between countries. In 2009, we started our International Centers of Excellence Attraction program, and I think it was very successful. The goal was to promote the innovation in the country by generating partnership with international entities, research centers, to develop projects in the industry, especially in mining. And several of those centers started to open some places here in Chile, like all these that you see over there, Merrick, India, UC Davis, like that, and SMI and others. And well, finally, again, to repeat that how important is that the country see that through the mining or the opportunity that for, especially for undeveloped or developing country, is for them to develop the mining and to get the value and to rise the way of living of their people. So regarding that, Chile has signed several free trade agreements, MOU, as I mentioned, with several countries, and to promote investment and cooperation in various fields, including mining. And we are currently starting to do the development of our critical mineral strategy that we don't see them as critical for us, but we understand how critical it is for the world and the entire world to have these minerals for the energy transition. And we understand how important it is to address the cooperation between the countries involved in the value chains for the mineral industry that develops with good standards, the mining for the supply of these minerals. And just to finish everything what I mentioned in terms of trust, I believe how important is the legal institutional certainty that we give them as a country especially to foreign minings in the minings in Chile. The importance of the credibility of the contribution of mining to the people and the respect for the environment, the importance of transparency, public information, disclosure, and commitment, the importance of mineral export control for taxes and to know which minerals have been exported and which of them should be taxed. And finally, the importance of the development of the countries involved through the value chains that I think should be a main goal for the states and the governments that are involved in the value chain. That's all. Thank you very much. I hope you could understand what I said. And I'm open to questions.
Carlos, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Everybody, a round of applause for the fantastic Carlos Silva. Thank you so much for that. And I don't believe you when you say that was the first time you've delivered a talk.
It is.
Because that was phenomenal. That was great. Carlos, we've got a number of questions that are coming in, if I may. The first one, actually, there was a flurry of activity through various channels when you talked about the name of the environmental agency, so sniffer, I think it was, which is genius. we're going to sniffer you out.
Yes, we got it like that. Well, sniffer. Watch out with sniffer. It's very important.
Sniffer. It was brilliant. And with that, I think you described, and it was on your slide, the public access to the data sets. And that's something, that level of transparency, that level of openness is something that many people have been speaking about during this conference. And I was just wondering, do people from the public, do they access the data? You know, is it used on a regular basis, or is it something where everyone knows it is freely available, but nobody really uses it, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I would say that the interest, I don't know if this is the word in English, interest groups, or the people, the interest group, they use it. In especially the communities, the indigenous communities or communities that live nearby the mining companies, they're much prepared right now. They can hire lawyers or technicals that help them to read that information, and they're really active participating in the assessment of the project through this environmental impact assessment. And also when they sue or the companies for any activities, they use all this data and to these processes. So I think they're using it and in the proper way. That's of course the goal of having that data sure. But I wouldn't say that that's for the whole society. Or for example, people are living in Santiago, they don't care about that, but the people that need that information, they have it.
Right. And I mean, I think that's fantastic that it's being used, because that's then everyone playing their part with regards to utilizing that data. Now, Ludovine, I know that you had some questions for Carlos. I don't know if you want to come in and ask one of them.
No, first of all, I want to congratulate Carlos, because this was an incredible overview of what's going on in Chile. And I wanted to ask about this debate about increasing refining and local value addition, because I work primarily in Africa, and actually what Chile discusses and where that debate goes is incredibly influential in some of the African jurisdictions. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about that, the tone of that debate, where it's headed, and more importantly, who's involved.
Okay. I would say that for years, there has been this doubt, and it's related with the not availability of all the information, that people believe that a lot of value of the minerals have been exported, and Chile is not taking the value of them. Because of there's not information available. Again, they believe that the mining companies, you know, they do that with a purpose. You know, they're like kind of being stealing on purpose, and I don't believe that. I work in the private sector. I know that's not. I hope that it's not right, because you never know. But well, that's on the society. And the government has made some effort to tackle that. Currently, Cochilco, the organization that I mentioned, is working together with the national customs to make major efforts in terms of track better the sub-elements of the copper concentrates. But the current regulation just allow them to track, as I mentioned, copper, gold, silver, and molybdenum. And the current regulation doesn't allow that for the other minerals. And there's a part of our interest group that is pushing that for change. And it's very complicated, because I don't know if the mining companies, if it's their interest to know what is in the concentrate, because they just sell them. And probably in China, they use that and they get that value, but it's not a problem of the mining. It's not a problem of the mining company, and it should be. And that's what it was. I think we were talking about this country involved in the value chain. It should be a problem of the mining company that look forward to give back the value extracted from the soil of one country, and that goes to another one and generates value in another place. And well, that has been happening right now. And as a government, from last year, we started an agenda of enhancing the capacity of smelting and refinery in Chile. This is part of the agenda since, well, we have 7 smelters in Chile. We are the second one. China has kind of a 27. We are the second one with just 7 smelters and refinery. And since, because of environmental problems, one of them had to shut up to finish their operation. We have it again in the public agenda, what's happened with the smelter and refinery. And we're using that to push the agenda of enhancing this capacity. We're in July, in fact, we're gonna send to the Congress a proposal of enhancing this capacity. That what I'm gonna say a little bit about is to make some groups of public groups to generate an agenda to 2025 to update the current capacity and to look for a new capacity in Chile that has the los últimos, how to say it, with the highest standards of environmental aspects and stuff. Well, again, just to finish, there's a kind of discussion about, because of the lack of information, of doubts about the behavior of the company. And right now, as a government, we take the agenda to enhance this enhancing of the smelter and refinery operations in Chile.
Carlos, it's really interesting. And I can see Ludovine saying yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really interesting. Thanks.
No, it's absolutely fantastic. And Carlos, later on this year, actually, we're going to be helping to organize a conference looking at the platinum group metals. So some of those metals that might be able to be extracted along in that process that you're talking about. So we'll make sure we send you an invite with regards to come along to that as well. So with that, everybody, I'd like to invite you to please put your hands together for the fantastic Carlos. Thank you very much. Brilliant.
Thank you.